Today, we're talking about something that so many women struggle with, particularly through midlife and menopause beyond, and that's bacterial vaginosis. If you're in perimenopause or you're postmenopausal and all of a sudden you're getting bacterial vaginosis, it might be the first time you've ever had it, or it's a recurrent thing that's happening more often. It is highly likely due to the changing hormones, notably the falling estrogen levels in your body. It doesn't mean that your partner's suddenly gone off and having various affairs in the background. It is something that is generated from us, from within, because our body is responding differently to external and also internal triggers. So today I want you to understand why this happens, what causes it, and what you can do with sort of medications and also holistic treatments to help reduce the further chance of you developing bacterial vaginosis, or indeed how to treat it effectively once you get it. It's not down to a lack of cleanliness. It is not a sexually transmitted disease. It's something that is created within your own vaginal microbiome because of the internal changes in your body. There are external influences that can negatively impact your vaginal microbiome too, and I will cover all that today. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kate. I share a video with you every Monday around something related to menopause. If there's anything you would like me to cover, particularly in a future episode, just leave me a comment below and I'd be more than happy to add that to my rotation. So firstly, what is bacterial vaginosis? It is when the level of the different types of bacteria in your vagina change, becomes slightly more alkaline as you go through menopause and beyond. Your estrogen levels are falling, and that causes the acidity in the vagina to drop, but it means that your pH levels are becoming more alkaline. So the pH level actually rises slightly, and it doesn't take much of a change for that to have a negative impact on your vaginal microbiome. It's a really sensitive area. So the reason you're likely to have maybe your first experience of bacterial vaginosis, or it's becoming more recurrent, is due to the changes within the vaginal microbiome. So as the estrogen levels fall, that has a negative impact on your vagina in general. You lose some of the lubrication, your tissues are becoming thinner. The lactobacilli, which are generally the healthy bacteria in the vagina, feed on glycogen, and your glycogen levels also drop when estrogen levels fall. So really there are sort of multiple things that might be increasing the risk of you developing bacterial vaginosis, but it is all down to this healthy versus not so healthy bacterial balance. If you're getting bacterial vaginosis, you'll notice there's a slightly fishy odor associated with it. I think that is why most women feel so ashamed about it. Listen, it is nothing to do with personal hygiene. It is not that suddenly you've got this STD. It is just a change in the balance of your bacteria that live and thrive in the vaginal microbiome. You might find the odor gets worse after you've had sex. Not always, but often that is what triggers it. And there is a reason for that, which I'll explain in a few minutes. It can also have a thin, greyish, white discharge, not like a candida infection, not like thrush, which is a yeasty infection, which can be a bit more lumpy and people describe it as cottage cheesy. This is just a thinner, white, grey discharge. You also might get a slight irritation with it, not necessarily itching per se, but almost like I suppose again it's described as sort of an irritable tingling, but not so much an itch. So how do you know if you've got it? A lot of women are put off going to their doctor because they think, oh, they're going to have an internal examination, and then with the fishy smell, it just makes you feel embarrassed and shameful. So often a doctor you'll just have a conversation over the telephone, and they'll be able to ask you several questions, which will then point to the fact it's highly likely to be bacterial vaginosis. You can also do self-test kits at home. So again, the doctor might just send you a swab, or you pick up a swab from the surgery, and then they can just confirm that that is the case. But it means that you don't have to go in, and you don't have to have that internal examination, which I know puts so many women off. So one of the reasons that sex can actually trigger it or make it worse, which can be so frustrating, because if you're menopausal, you might already have, you might be more dry, you might be struggling with a low libido, you might be more irritable, you might be having the mood swings, you might be having slightly different changes in the relationship with your significant other because of the other symptoms that go along with menopause. You might be getting micro tears. You might just be feeling really uncomfortable down below. And then to top it off, you then have sex, which you probably didn't want anyway. And then you get bacterial vaginosis. I mean, that is just, it's just like rubbing salt in the wound. The reason for that, or one of the reasons for that, is because semen is alkaline. So if your vaginal microbiome is slightly more alkaline than it needs to be, but it's not so alkaline that it's developed bacterial vaginosis, having that semen in there, because it's alkaline, can then trigger that bacterial vaginosis. And that can trigger really fast. Within a few hours, you've all of a sudden developed bacterial vaginosis. If you have multiple partners, of course, each different partner comes with their own microbiome. Our skin has its own microbiome, and we all have a slightly different, selection of bacteria on our skin, obviously including the penis. So if you've got multiple partners, not only have you got the different microbiome of his semen, you've also got the different microbiome of his skin. So that also might increase the risk of developing bacterial vaginosis. Treatment options, really, there's a couple. The mainline treatment is antibiotics. The doctor will give you a fairly heavy duty course for a few days, and you follow that, and that is highly effective to get rid of the bacterial vaginosis. While the odd occasion with antibiotics is probably not going to be the end of the world, it's not something you want to be doing regularly because of the fact that antibiotics just kill your gut bacteria. They're just so destructive to the sort of overall healthy functioning of your body. There are probiotics that you can take either orally or vaginally as a suppository. And I found it quite hard to find some decent vaginal suppositories with a lot of good reviews. I have found one product called Gyntima, and it is linked in the description box below. If you take an oral probiotic, you might be thinking, well, how does that actually get into my vagina? It goes through the entire digestive system. It goes through the mouth, the stomach, the small intestine, the colon, and then the way it actually transmits into the vagina is through the perineum, so that piece of skin that attaches the anus through to the vagina, and the probiotics will make their way through from the colon. Even if you clean yourself very well after going to the toilet, there will still be a certain amount of bacteria there, and that's how it then gets into the vagina. That apparently can take around 7 days. If you take a suppository-based probiotic, that works within 2 to 3 days. And the main probiotic in that is the lactobacillus range of healthy bacteria. Also, you could use topical vaginal estrogen cream. Now, I know if you've had breast cancer and you're thinking, I don't want any estrogen anywhere near me, I'm not allowed to take any estrogen. The body will always absorb some of what you put on it, whether that's your body lotion, your face cream, your shampoos, etc., etc. But it only absorbs a tiny amount of estrogen that you would use as a topical treatment. So topical just means you only use it in the estrogen. So you might have an applicator that you actually use to insert the topical vaginal estrogen cream into the vagina. So I think it's one of those things, talk to your doctor about it, and then have a think about how is your life being impacted by recurrent bacterial vaginosis if you're struggling with that. I think if it's something where you haven't got a hyper sensitivity to estrogen, I don't take HRT myself, but if I was having that, I'm single, so I'd have to dust the cobwebs and the dust off. However, if I was then finding I was getting bacterial vaginosis, I would then seriously consider topical estrogen cream, because it might just be what I would need in order just to keep things plump and healthy down below. How can you reduce future risk? Obviously, consider a vaginal pessary. You can consider the topical estrogen cream. Avoid scented vaginal douches. I don't know why these things are even on the market, because they disrupt your vaginal microbiome so much. You don't need to smell fragrant or perfumed down below. It's just all the fragrances and the things that shouldn't be there are already disrupting your microbiome. Just wash normally once or twice a day. That's literally all you need to do. I wouldn't use harsh soaps either. Maybe just warm water and a safe soap, sort of a healthy soap without all the heavy duty fragrances, etc., associated with it. But your body is designed to keep itself clean. You don't need to be doing the douching. You certainly shouldn't be doing internal washing. Your body does what it needs to do miraculously well if you let it get on and do what it needs to do miraculously well. You can cut out sugar from your diet or reduce sugar, because that will have a beneficial impact, because sugar is just acidic and inflammatory for the body as a whole. It's also going to have a negative impact on your gut health. Or you just eat a wide range of fermented foods, like ideally you should do, things like kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, drink kombucha. That is also going to go through the same process: mouth, stomach, small intestine, colon, and then via the perineum. It should then go up into the vagina as healthy probiotics. So looking at what you eat as a whole is going to have a really big and profound impact on your vaginal health. Make sure you're drinking plenty of water. Most of us do not drink enough water. You want your tissues all around your body, including on your face, to stay as plump as possible. By drinking plenty of water, you facilitate that. Use water-based lubricants during sex if you need a lubricant, or something like coconut oil, although that's a fat-based lubricant. But if you're not needing to use condoms, olive oil or coconut oil might be a healthy alternative for you, because they're antibacterial, they're anti-inflammatory. If you find that you need to use condoms because of recurrent bacterial vaginosis, avoid condoms with spermicides, because those can negatively impact the vaginal microbiome. Avoid condoms with flavors and scents attached to them. You might be sensitive to latex. So in those instances, I would look at something like the polyurethane condoms or the polyisoprene condoms. Just be mindful of which ones you use, because you should not use oil-based lubricants. So if you're using coconut oil or olive oil, it might disrupt the integrity of the condom. Consider using a pH balanced vaginal moisturizer several times a week. But just be mindful, if you're putting anything inside your vagina, that it is a natural product, that it is healthy, that it's going to promote healthy bacteria and not disrupt the pH level of your vagina. So just as a quick fire round, as a recap, bacterial vaginosis is not a sexually transmitted disease. Should your partner get treated if you have bacterial vaginosis? No, the treatment needs to focus on you and not your partner. Why does it keep coming back? Often because the pH level within your vaginal microbiome has not been restored. So you need to focus on the absolute root cause is the pH level of your vaginal microbiome. Once you get that restored and can maintain that then should be the end of recurrent, or the first time that you experience bacterial vaginosis. Is it safe to have sex with bacterial vaginosis? Technically, yes. So woman to man, the man is not going to contract bacterial vaginosis from you. Woman to woman, same-sex partners, depending on what your sex consists of, you might actually affect both of your vaginal microbiomes. If you're using sex toys and you've got various unfriendly lubricants, that could be enough to set you both off. You're not going to catch it though, one from the other. The problem with it, I think a lot of times, is it just makes you feel really self-conscious. So I would listen to your body. If you're feeling pressured to have sex and you don't want to have it, if you're feeling pressured, I would look at the relationship that you're in personally, and see if that possibly needs change too, because you are not a vessel, and it's really important that you feel comfortable responding in the way that feels right for you. So if you're getting bacterial vaginosis, you're not dirty. It's not that you're not keeping yourself clean enough. It's not that you're flaunting it around and picking it up from all sorts of different partners. It's not that your partner is flaunting it around and delivering you an STD. With the right treatment and simple habits, technically managing bacterial vaginosis is very doable. So I hope that has been helpful to you. It's one of those topics that it's just hard to talk about because of the shame that a lot of women feel around it, and you should not feel ashamed. I bet it happens to way more people than you would ever think it would. And it is just one of those circumstances that you can control to a degree, because there are things that you can do to improve, or not necessarily improve, that's the wrong word to use, but to maintain a healthy vaginal microbiome. And it's about finding the methods that work best for you, that you are comfortable with. Remember, it's your vagina, it's your body. So make sure you feel comfortable with the treatments or the options that you choose. Feel free to comment if you'd like to. If you want to chat to me privately, send me an email, katehartleyuk@gmail.com, and I'd be more than happy to respond that way. Make it a great week, and I will look forward to chatting with you again soon.